So what up, peeps? Yeah, you know what? Cut the fucking video. Cut. Anyways, so what up, peeps? This is sack of shit. I can't do this. I don't want to even introduce myself, dude. But fuck all you. What up, peeps?
Oi, I'm laying in bed trying to watch you go over patch notes, but you aren't going over the balance patch, bitch.
Yo, I'm trying to start a video. I can't do it.
Can you just get started? I've been sitting here listening to you go. Sorry, wait. Oh, bitch. I just want to know.
Just stay in bed, man. You can read it yourself, man. Why do you need me for this?
Okay, get started, thanks.
Hey, alright, so let's go over the fucking dev notes. First on the list, there's Melissa. Melissa, what is this? They buffed Melissa. They moved her soul burn from S1 to S3. They dispelled... What is this? She looks like she's decent. Her quality of life change is actually really good because she no longer needs to crit. Right? Like, I personally think this is a decent quality of life change. It's not a very major one, though. Like, this isn't gonna, like, affect her in, like, any huge way. That basically means that there's more than one way that you can actually use her. Yeah, I think this is fine. A non-conditional S3 is actually really, really good. Also, for the fact that she actually can ignore effect res now. That's spicy. So, the first thing that they said here, the first hero that we speak about for this balance adjustment is Melissa. Following the first balance adjustment that was given to Melissa, further improvements will be made to Melissa's core ability to make her more effective and a stable hero. First, a crit hit requirement, which was necessary in order to receive an extra turn for her Blood Bloom, which was for her S3, will be removed. Melissa is a hero that requires her skills to be linked, especially in regards of manifestation, which should be used after Blood Bloom. Therefore, regardless of whether or not a critical hit occurs, Melissa is granted an additional extra turn, which will allow her greater consistency in having an additional action. And I could probably just ignore the rest because moving the soul burn over here to give her ignore effect res basically means she doesn't need effectiveness anymore, and you could just stuff a Toggle health on top of her, which is fine, right? The next person that's buffed is our boy, Ballin Cezanne. Dude, Ojo-sama, bitch, I'm out. He basically can hit 2 targets on his S1 now, which is pretty dank. Where's Evil Ball? Nah, fuck that. Fuck that hoe. Ball and Cezanne. This guy has been here for like 2 years. Almost 2 years on Epic 7. And this is like... They even said it. I think I should probably just introduce it in their words, huh? Ball and Cezanne is one of the heroes that was in Epic 7 from the beginning and will be adjusted so that he can play a meaningful role for our heirs. With this adjustment, the performance of his basic skill Ghost Hunt and Dark Cloud will be improved. His S2. This is his S3. This is his S2. Ooh. So is this... Oh, this is 2-turn cooldown. Dude, he has so much AoE. Like, this hits 2 targets. This is now a 2-turn, and this is like his damage, right? His cleave. And then this is his... Ooh, that's a lot. But he's a fire unit. But then he's a mage though. Right? Now, Boston Cezanne wasn't very impactful in the beginning, I don't think. Just because then maybe he had like a conflict in whether he was a debuffer or not. But this dude, do you guys see his multipliers? It's fucking humongous. Bruh. He's good at farming? Are you sure? Hey, he looks like he could do damage. I think for most cleavers, this is kind of considered pretty high. And plus, a 1 attack multiplier and a 1 POW for his S1, especially now that it's AoE, is actually pretty disgusting. Yeah? So he basically has a 2-turn S2 now, and then he has like, he can hit 2 targets with his S1. This is actually pretty disgusting. If his S2 kills, his S3 also resets. Mages are broken. That's a TLDR. That's basically how we put it, right? I think in this patch, it looks like mostly the mages. Oh, actually, I'm not even wrong. All the fire mages got buffed. Yeah, there you go. All the 5-star fire mages got buffed. You guys realize that? Melissa, fire mage. Balance is on, fire mage. Araminta, which is coming up next, is also getting buffed. He's still ugly, let's move on. Dude, come on! He actually still has some of the best voice lines though. Her S2 now does damage unconditionally, so she no longer needs to have a burn in order for this thing to go boom. Which is nice. But this doesn't really tell us anything specifically, because then this is a damage dealt increase. If we actually want to look at Araminta right now, how much damage does she actually do? 0.8.85. Nice AoEs. Literally just says that she's a debuffer, but that's it. I'm assuming they're probably gonna increase it by like 25%, probably. My guess is 25% on each skill. I don't know if that's really gonna change anything though. I don't know if I can understand Melissa. This will make her usable in the current RTA meta, right? Well, I think she can find her uses, right? Balance is on. I'm not exactly sure yet. We still have a problem that fire units don't have any. What is it? They just feel like shit to play. There are very few fire units out there that has impact because of SSB. SSB is so fucking, what'd you call it? It's like the bane of existence to fire units. You can't play fire units just because of one unit. It's literally just that. And also Crown DN being very prevalent in the RTA meta. I feel like no matter what, no matter how much these things gets buffed, because of these ice units that are currently stuck in the meta, it's super hard for these things to be good. It's too oppressive. Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, it just doesn't, like, none of these buffs, like, I understand how great they are. Like, I love them. Like, this one's great. This is great because then it drops a condition for Melissa, so she doesn't need to crit anymore. There's also this one where you get him to do more damage, more AoE, and so on. So he gets to do, like, some crazy stuff, maybe. But how impactful will this really be? Like, will this actually do anything? Will this stop anything? How does that compare to our current pool of fire units, right? It doesn't, I don't think it really changed. Araminta doesn't look like she changes anything at all. It's just more damage. These look like it just changes to damage dealers, but to our current pool of damage dealers, I don't think this will replace anything. Just because then the ice meta is a little bit too harsh, right? I wouldn't even like to say it's ice meta. It's just like the Knight and Soul Reaver meta is just very oppressive against these fire units. And especially since they have no way of like protecting themselves besides Melissa, I don't think they're very good. That's the biggest problem. It's hard to find uses out of these two, right? All this says is that they're just increasing damage. That's it. So we're really just moving down. Honestly, our best boy got boofed. Woo! Emilio, finally, he got buffed. Okay, so the issue with Emilio before, when they first introduced him, was he was a unique character. He had like a new debuff called like that basically just placed bombs on the enemy with his S3. But the biggest problem was that because then it took 2 turns before it could detonate, people could either cleanse it or Leo just ends up doing jack shit because nothing goes off, or either the bombs just don't do enough damage. That's the biggest problem, right? So I guess here, let's look at what they did here. So Fire Shock Bomb, I believe this is his S2. So his S2 now decreases the cooldown of his S3, and at the end of the turn detonates bombs inflicted on the enemy. Does that mean all bombs though? Like if he just fires the S2, all bombs go boom? Or is it just one? I'm assuming all bombs go boom. Right? I'm not exactly sure. We gotta... I'm probably gonna have to read this part. And then, what is it? Now he has a second debuff. This is actually really good because now... it looks like the debuff order is that MO Leo would drop a speed debuff, then a bomb. So in turn of debuff cleansing, the speed will get off first, then the bomb. This is actually a good change. This is a nice change. It seems like most debuffers nowadays needs at least 2 debuffs in order to be relevant, which is pretty good. I think it detonates the enemy. It says detonate bombs though. I like to assume that there's more than one, and I also want to know what's the cooldown on MO Leo's S3, because this decreases, right? So does that mean he could S3, S2, S3, S2, S3, S2 like the Katie's? Right? We don't know. This is a 4-turn cooldown. So this is a 4-turn cooldown. Once Leo does this, is it 2 turn? Is 2 turns remaining or is 1 turn remaining? It's 1 turn remaining, right? It goes down to 1 turn remaining. So there's 1 turn downtime for this. I kind of wish that there was like one more thing that they could add for him. I don't think that's enough, to be honest. Maybe it is. If you make him very fast, it's very possible that he can be very good. But I don't think that's enough. It literally just says that he's a straight up debuffer. Why 90%? Just make it max already? I don't think this is enough. Alright, let's see what they have to say. We are happy to announce this balance adjustment for Roaming Warrior Leo, particularly for our heirs who have been requesting this improvement. It's just because then you neglected him for so long. That's the very reason why we asked you to fucking fix Leo. You can't just bring out a unique unit with bombs and all of a sudden just scrap it and decide to work on new units instead. That's not fair. That's just fucked, right? There's a first the skill go to Raku. There's a speed debuff in addition to that. This will also add to the elongate the amount of time the enemy will be debuffed before they can have a turn and dispel their debuffs. Additionally, the skill Fire Shock Bomb now reduces Go Raku, basically his S3 by 1 turn. The biggest problem is that this isn't very impactful, because then this is still a very conditional thing, because then MO Leo still needs to get a second turn to even detonate the bombs. I don't think this is impactful enough. But let's say, for example, if you're running a debuff team, maybe he'll work and maybe he can set up a little bit more, but I don't think this is very insane. If you're going to try to use him as a standalone, you're going to need like a full up like debuff team in order to make this work. But with certain units out there, this might just suck. I don't think this is very good just because it doesn't happen instantaneously. Like this needs to happen as soon as possible, and he needs to take as many turns as possible. But if you try to build him slow so that you can speed tune, this doesn't make any sense. And if you make him fast, every enemy has like an immunity, so this doesn't make any sense either. He needs probably like a strip or something in order to make this work. Otherwise, this just sucks, I think. Right? So Emma Roman gets a buff. Now, I don't even think this is very impactful either. Just him, they decreased the range of RNG between 15 and 50. What's the difference between 10 and 50 and 15 and 50? If I hit 15, is that gonna make me feel any better than me hitting a 10? To be honest. Especially when there's like, it's only 35% chance. It's not like an insane rate, right? It doesn't feel very crazy. I feel like if they're just gonna do this, they may as well, if they want like him to be at least somewhat decent, I would probably say they could reduce the randomness to like 10 to 30, but increase the activation chance to like 50%. So when they're silenced, this guy can just pop off like crazy, you know? Like, it doesn't need to be like this, because I don't like the way that he works. Maybe it's just because then debuffers are very unique. I do like that his S3 now dispels 2 buffs now. This is actually very nice. There's actually not a lot of units that can dispel while also silencing. The other unit that I only know of is literally Herato and probably like Audley, I think. But Audley is like single target and Herato is also single target. He's the only one that has an AoE silence. So this is actually very nice. He now also gets an extra turn, so he gets to rinse a little bit faster. This isn't that half bad. Right? Yufine S2? Oh, Yufine S2 as well. Oh, my bad. There's that. But you're not gonna build Yufine as like, you know, as a debuffer though. You know? I don't like this the soul burn change. I think that's yeah. Probably. I think the only reason why this looks very bad is because then this thing isn't 100% to begin with, right? The only issue that I have with this is that it costs us so much for its soul burn. If you don't realize already, this thing costs us 20 souls. I don't think I would use 20 souls. If I were to have it in a team, right? You wouldn't use it for ML Roman. You would definitely use it for like a different unit that would like care about the soul burn to begin with. Yeah, if it was 10, it was reasonable, right? But it's 20, so it's really expensive. I think this is a better soul burn. Extra turn is always insane. I always think it's insane. Especially what this does is that it allows him to rinse his S3 a lot faster. So he could just come back and he just could just do like a little bit more. Yeah? So let's take a look at like Roman. So Roman has a 4-turn cooldown here, right? And then he could just do this. This thing gets reduced if he extra turns this now. He can actually cycle this thing very quickly, and then he could come back to this later. This is actually really, really good, I think. Because now he can actually just cycle infinitely. Which is actually really nice. Right? For any cheeky player that really just cares about him very much. But I think if you're ever gonna play with him, it's mostly just for fun. Right? Phyllis. You know, I wanted to say something, but I feel like this is really awkward. Number one, I don't think 3 stars are very good until they get their specialty change. I feel like the issues with 3 stars right now in competitive play is that unless they have like a specialty change, whatever buffs that is down here for 3 stars, for like all these 3 units right here, probably don't mean anything besides for the only unit, which is Chaos Inquisitor. Besides Mursa. Right? Because Mursa's kit is kind of overloaded already. And she has like a very like crazy mechanic where she could just dodge like crazy, right? She has a crazy evasion. Yeah? So just like for her, she just seems like a very overloaded kit already. Her S2 does a lot, her S3 does a lot. Those 2 skills alone literally just makes up her entire kit. Right? That's why some of these 3 stars, especially when they're talking about buffing them, I feel like they gotta get some big oomph. So let's see if Phyllis actually does the big oomph. Yeah? So her S1 now does damage proportional to caster's defense, so she's now scales on what is it, defense on her S1. I'm surprised that she hasn't. Wait, what? No, I don't. Wait, it already scales. Does that mean that this thing just the scaling of this is increased? That's it? What? I don't get it. What do you mean before and this is after? I don't get it. I don't get it. What the fuck, dude? Okay. Let's just go a little bit further, yeah? Um, let's go look at her scaling right now then. Frick. Is that how I spell Phyllis? How do you spell Phyllis? Did I spell her wrong? Is she just not in the list? Hold up. Or my Google broke. My control find is wrong. Alright, what is this? Hey, wait, she actually has some decent defense scaling. 0.4 and 0.7. What is this getting increased to? Is it turning into Fighter Maya level where this thing gets doubled or something? We might actually end up having ourselves a Dark Fighter Maya. It's not bad. Hey, I have a lot of garbage defense gear. This is a perfect time to actually gear up Phyllis anyway. So this is good. I like it. Alright? So, what is this? Her S2 now stacks up to 3 times instead of 5 times. And I'm assuming that they're probably just going to change how this works right here. So, I'm assuming that it's still going to be 15%. This effect is very similar to the artifact of Violet's Talisman, where as it stacks up, there's like a cap. So this is probably going to be 5%. I like to assume it. Right? It also protects teammates, which is a good thing. Right? And it's not like a defense that you can actually strip off either. It's like a passive increase over time until you actually kill Phyllis. Right? And now Phyllis also has a provoke on her S3, and she also gives off a barrier. I don't think this is a 3-turn. Oh. Wait a minute. 10 souls, you say? "10 souls, you say?" Oh, what is this? Emerald Tywin? 91 speed? I don't think it really matters. I think this is okay. 10 souls? No. It refreshes her cooldown. Because this is a 3-turn cooldown and this refreshes. Because then once she takes a turn, this thing goes down to 2 cooldown. This thing refreshes, so she gets to spam this over and over as long as she has 10 souls. Just for provoke, for barrier as well. Now, how big is the barrier though? Is the biggest question. "60% of self-defense." So I guess in battle, it's about like maybe like a 1.5 to like 2k barrier. I don't think that's bad. It's definitely over 1k. It's probably like 1.5 to 2k. Maybe. Especially when she has like the passive increase as well. It's just my guess. Right? And I think she also receives defense buff, right? When she gets attacked. Because what is this? Because there's passive increase and then she also grants defense buff. Dude, night meta is gonna get oppressive. I hate this. The provoke will make her pop the defense buff? Yeah, probably. Right? There's only one thing that I really don't like about Phyllis is she has to suffer 4 attacks. That's the thing that makes me hate her. But because this isn't exactly a defense buff, she only gets to stack up. And she gets slapped 4 times. How's that even feasible? To be honest, they need to reduce this condition. This condition is a little bit too heavy. 2 attacks right there. Hey, that's true. But 2 attacks, she probably could have been dead already. Or her entire team is already dead before she could even set up 1 increase in defense. This is a passive increase last running. This isn't like the way that her defense buff. Her defense buff isn't exactly like a buff. It's like a passive buff that you can't remove until you kill her. Do you understand? Yeah, you could use her with stealth units. You could actually run a stealth squad with us. Using Acoli, Tempesturin, S10A, and Phyllis to get her stealth squad. I like that. That sounds fun. But it sounds like I'm gonna die at the same time because then it doesn't make any sense. Feels like Phyllis is probably just gonna die. Like it's good, probably in a single target team, but never in a against a tank team. I think that sounds really good. Against an AOE team, you might be dead, like turn 1. Which is still Monk S. Great. So, Phyllis, we'll give her some testing when she comes out. I don't exactly know if this is actually practical or not. The only issue is, even though she gets increased damage and all that, I feel like her S2 makes up her entire kit. Since it's so conditional, it might not be practical unless you use her in like an entire team that focuses around just turtling. But her stats are super slow. She's like 91 speed. She has really good HP and defense though. But this is gonna be pretty awkward to use. But we shall see how this goes. I think she can also provoke in her S1, right? Ooh. She can. At 75%. She had her entire kit is just provoke. Just give her Elbrus. I'm just kidding. You have to give her Aureus. If I want to use Tempestern with her, I have to use Aureus. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Right? So, we move on. Azalea. I don't care. What's the point? What's the point of buffing these 3 stars if there's no specialty change for them, dude? What's the point? Literally, what's the point? You know? Like, what makes their kit appear out to be like, oh shit, please build me. Please build me over these other 4 stars. Please build this 3-star. Dude, what is this? I'm pretty sure this is... Don't tell me it's for Golem. They're gonna tell me it's for Golem on it. Bruh. Added buff before SC? I hope so. So is Adelaide also getting SC? So are these 3 stars also getting SC? I want Phyllis to get an SC. That would be really cool. This is so stupid. To be honest, I think they've given us too many free units that buffing 3 stars is irrelevant. That if you were to just reroll for a 5-star, this is relevant. You're never gonna use this unless it's for like fun. Either or. I can't call her looking like a waifu, bro. Now, Chadley though. Chadley though. I got nothing to say about him either. If you're gonna use him, you may as well just use Judge Kisei, because they basically do the same thing. Kinda. His S3 now does big dick damage. Okay, it always done big dick damage, right? And I'm assuming that it actually had a nice multiplier on it. JK, it didn't. It's cheeky though, because he dispels, right? Actually, wait a minute. It might be cheeky. He can hold a button, he could just do this. No, he's not budget Kisei. I wouldn't think that Adelaide needs to be budget. He's good, Because you could use him as a standalone unit. That's the entire point. He's good because then you get to use him as a standalone unit. Do you understand? Yeah, he could hold his own book. And guess what? He has his Soulburn ignores effect res now. Do you know how insane that is? So, what's this? 110 speed. Nice HP, by the way. But 110 speed. Hey, I think he could be cheeky. It's an 85% chance. Oh, I'm gonna hate my life, dude. If he doesn't reset the right units, I'm gonna hate my life. I'll play with Adley. He sounds like a fun unit. Because, how long is this? A 4-turn cooldown, right? So this is a 4-turn cooldown. He gets combat readiness, and he can stun? Alright, I'm putting Abyssal Crown. Wait. I can't put Abyssal Crown on him. I lied. Ignore effect res for an 85% chance X2, and we make fun of all the unskilled Lilius S2 who sobered in RTA. Ah. You know what's funny, right? Because the way that this is gonna work is if he doesn't run Taga Hells, it's 85 times 85 times 85 times 85. Or like 0.85, I mean. So the chances of this guy even landing anything without the Soul Burn is kind of funny. It does have a good point. If it's not 100%, it's 0%. I'm just kidding, it's 50-50. What am I, 0%? Okay, but I still think this is really cheeky though. Someone could literally just come out of nowhere and they could win a straight game just because of this. Because resetting cooldown is very, like, it's a very big deal because, let's say for example, you already have a team set up, right? And you're not really depending just on Adley, and he lands like a very crucial skill decrease. That's gonna be pretty insane. So when it does work, it's kind of annoying. I'm gonna say that. May as well just put him up with like Spectre Tenebria, and like just use the Target Hells from Spectre Tenebria and just get the souls. Or actually, that actually sounds pretty good. Doesn't he just get dicked down by FCC though? Because he only dispels one? When you start realizing that there's a lot of flaws to this, and why ML Roman got buffed, or Broman got buffed, is just because then he could only dispel one. Feels yikes, is all I gotta say. Just ban FCC, forehead. Alright, let's see. I don't care about Azalea. I don't care about this. Chaos Inquisitor. Kuurai can stop him. Imagine Kuurai, dude. Chaos Inquisitor. He does more damage. He gets more combat readiness. Heavy Strike is his S3, right? I have him 6-star for World Boss, but I don't remember what it did. Is this S1? Ah, this is S1. Okay. So this is a 25%. He does more of that, and then he does this. He's basically like another Tempest Surin, but the biggest issue that I have here is just because then he doesn't have AoE. He's just single target. Ugh. Okay, so the rest is really just soul improvements, but I think these are bugged, no? Oh, they just didn't acquire souls for proccing their extra skill. Okay, that doesn't matter, and then this is just like whatever. Yeah, the rest is just description changes and like other stuff. So this is like the verdict for all the buffs. They buffed a shit ton of fire units and like some not so great MO4s that was kind of subpar before. This entire patch notes is kind of I like to say, at a competitive standpoint for me, it's kind of underwhelming, just because then maybe there wasn't enough. There's probably a few more units that probably would like it as well. There's not a lot. There's a lot of buffs, but none stop the meta. That's it. It only brings some of these units into usability, but that doesn't do anything. None of this does anything. Like Melissa is good, right? This is quality of life change. Ball and Sazan is okay. It looks like he's just gonna do a little bit more damage, but I don't think that really changes much more of that, because then the ice meta, or like the Night and Soul Weaver meta, is still a little bit too harsh. Araminta getting a buff, I don't really think that really matters at all either, because she's gonna have to compete with other mages that probably will do a lot more than her, whether that be like hard CC, defense break, or just does more damage elsewhere, right? The Melissa change, I don't really know about. Sure, she can hold her own book, but then she could still. I still think this is a good change though, because the reason why this is a good change is because it changes the condition. I talked about this a lot before, but conditional skills that have like crazy conditions typically don't work out. Is the reason why ML Tywin got buffed, right? If his S2 his S2 before used to require him to have a debuff in order to cleanse. Now he only needs to get slapped as long as his allies are debuffed, right? That's like the great part about it. Removing conditions on certain skills like this is great, right? So I think Melissa is the only one that I warrant to be decent. The rest is kind of just okay and very niche. Like, because then damage increases and no major changes to her kit doesn't do anything. That's the problem. It's not very impactful, right? Bala Sazan and Araminta basically have like a few problems right now. Number one, they don't know if they are a debuffer, and number two, they don't know if they're a damage dealer, and number three, they're a fucking fire unit, so they suck because they can't do anything to the meta. That's it. There's only few units. There are only a few fire units that are very strong, and that's like Tenebria. Like, I think Tenebria is the only kit that I know of that is like the best overall, but the rest over here isn't very good. Probably number one is probably just cycling, right? Like, I don't know if Araminta is really good or not. She can cycle, but I don't think it's enough, right? But she won't be getting 50% CR from using S3. Her kit is all over the place. Exactly. I think if Araminta really had a buff, I don't know how they would need to change her. It's kind of hard because then they made ML Araminta almost like a replica of what a fire Araminta should probably maybe look like. It's just kind of weird. They haven't given her an EE at all. Maybe an EE will save her, but I don't think so still. Because if it's just more damage increases, it just doesn't do anything, you know? If anything, the only thing I could see for Fire Araminta is if they reduce her cooldowns and just have her cycle the entire time. Do you feel me? Like, this is like what? A 4-turn cooldown? This is like a 3-turn cooldown? If they reduce this to a 3-turn, a 2-turn, I think it could be pretty disgusting. Or maybe they should just replace this, remove this, and just make this an extra turn. Make Catalyst an extra turn and just make this. Just remove the combat readiness or something. Something isn't right. Her entire kit is like all over the place to me. I think what she needs right now is an extra turn. Probably just like drop an extra turn on her S2 and just give it to her S3. And like remove the combat readiness on her S3 so that she can rinse faster. Because her entire kit just literally just says decrease cooldown of Fire Pillar, like all this other stuff, but none of it's rinsing very fast, right? She has like a kit issue. She might need like an overhaul even. Right? Balance is on just being able to attack 2 enemies. It's not too half bad, but I'm not really much, like, not exactly too sure about his stance currently. ML Leo and Roman. ML Leo's a big improvement. Benevolent Roman is also, like, I would like to say stripping another buff is a big improvement. No, I think ML Roman is pretty fair and justified. I think it's good because then now he gets to strip 2 and now he has an extra turn. I think he gets to rinse more, which is a good thing, right? The only things that I just don't like about him now is that his S1 is still very RNG. I still hate that. He just seems to be like a meme unit. You only use him if you really just want to mess around. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some other people will probably try it out a little bit more. They have him built after all. I don't have him. Right? So I'll say this is a good buff. Leo is kind of questionable right now. Because he still needs to take a second turn. The guy needs to take a second turn in order to blow up the bombs. How the fuck is he gonna do that? How does he do that before he dies? You literally have to run him with like a full debuff team. That's it. So this is a very team-oriented unit, straight up. His bombs need to be 100% and shouldn't need skill ups for that. Probably. He hides behind Ku. There's only 2 units in this entire dev note that I'm okay about. And it's probably Broman, Phyllis, and Melissa. The rest is just kind of eh. The buffs are pretty underwhelming this time. I'm not exactly sure what else could have been buffed though. What else do you guys think that needed to be buffed?